The American media, specifically conservative political commentary, is lying to you. And I believe that most of them are controlled opposition. I want to begin with Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy. Certainly the guy has benefited from the system, but he is putting a lot of money behind his name to getting rid of the machines, getting integrity in elections, and I believe he's a patriot. I love the man, Bible-believing Christian, and I don't like how people have attacked him, because he's the one guy that's like standing out from everybody else, in the media sphere or in the business sphere, putting his money where his mouth is. So I respect him from that position. He was on, Brendan House's Worldview Weekend the other week, and he was talking about a private conversation a couple of years ago between Sean Hannity and himself. Watch this.
Shame on you, Sean. You told me in the summer that you couldn't talk about it. But yet you said, back off, Mike, before you get hurt. That's what he said, that these people are going to come and hurt me. They're going to come after you. Don't you said right to Kendra, he said, don't you care about him? Tell him to let this go. Let 2020 go, Mike. That was what Sean said to me more than once. Just like he did the therapeutics the year before when we had all those therapeutics at work. He called me right after Anderson Cooper for an hour on the phone and said, you need to back off. You need to back off. I said, well, I want to save people's lives, save our country. At that point, I guess I should have, because I was at $10 million worth of that therapeutic to give away to the country to help open up our country and save lives. And just last week, flushed a lot of them out being outdated. And because Big Pharma just fought and pushed me.
The media, the most important thing in media is who owns the microphone. Who owns the microphone? You, if you're my audience, if you're my supporters, you own the microphone. And I'm going to talk about the gospel, and I'm going to try to get things back to Jesus, because I want Christians to save people by telling them by telling them about the kingdom, by telling them about Jesus. Amen. That's my purpose. Please go ahead and support. But the most important thing in media is who owns the microphone. Who owns Sean Hannity's microphone? He doesn't. So he's going to do as he's told. And if Big Pharma tells him not to talk about ivermectin or therapeutics, guess what? He won't talk about it. If Dominion or the other godless commies that want to destroy the country by means of fraud, graft, scheming, corruption, want to destroy the country, then guess what he's not going to talk about? 2020 elections. This is why they nuked Mike Lindell off Fox, but here is Mike Lindell telling of a private conversation with him and Sean Hannity. And I don't think it's too hard to understand, because Hannity's been trying to get off of the Make America Great Again movement, of the America First movement, and he's downplaying a lot of this stuff. He testified in court last week. That he never believed that there was malfeasance in the 2020 election. That was different than what he was telling his listeners at the time. People in media are going to tell you what they think that you want to hear, which is why I will always try to get back to the Bible. I might not be perfect. I'm not perfect. I might not have the right reading, but I'm going to point you to the cross. I'm going to point you to the Bible. I want to talk about another man, Ben Shapiro. I just want you to listen. To how Ben Shapiro talks about our military and Ukraine and the stuff going on there. I'll pause it along the way, but I just want you to hear the business style perspective of a prominent conservative voice talking about America, national security, military, money, and otherwise. Watch this.
The United States has achieved a bunch of interests with regard to the Ukraine war. And as far as the investment that the United States has made in the Ukraine war, again, we've expended no lives in the Ukraine war. We've expended a fair bit of money in the Ukraine war. But the truth is that the amount of money that we have spent in 2022 amounts to approximately 6% of total U.S. defense spending.
Investment, right? He's thinking in terms of ROI. I mean, you can speculate as to why he's thinking in terms of an investment. The military isn't there to invest. The military is there to defend our country, to secure our borders, to secure and guard our rights, to defend the Constitution. But I look at this and I say, you're going to spend money to the military or give weapons to another country that's not our country. Could that money or those resources be used to better provide for Americans, better secure America, better defend American rights? This would be the conservative point. The conservative point is not, man, we're getting good bang for the buck in Ukraine. We're getting good bang for the buck in Ukraine. See, that's a business approach to say, well, that was a good use of money. Well, if you're going to look at it from a good use of money, what's the best use of that money? Here in America, for Americans, vets on the street, homeless, people losing their jobs because they didn't take a jab, balloon mortgage rates, food crisis, the rural American farmer that's being bought out by Bill Gates and godless commies like him to control the food supply. Like, what would be a better use of money? Here in America or Ukraine? Go ahead.
In 2022, the U.S. defense budget was $715 billion. The amount that we've spent in Ukraine is something like $77 billion. It'll raise to maybe $100 billion. It's a lot of money. It is a lot of money. But it represents a fraction of the United States' military budget.
Straw man. It's a straw man to suggest that because it's only a fraction of the whole budget, that doesn't mean that the whole budget is still justified. The Constitution doesn't allow for the big army that we have, but yet we have the big army. So granting the premise that because we have a big army, therefore it costs a lot of money, does not give you good analysis, doesn't make your analysis good or justified, moral, righteous, or otherwise constitutional if you say that, well, just a fraction of our budget is used for Ukraine. Well, why do you have a big military anyway? What's the threat to the United States? The threat to the United States isn't foreign invasion. It's domestic usurpation through a tyrannical, fictitious government that is now railroading every American and terrorizing everybody to the point that we can't say, don't change your kid's gender or else you're going to get put in prison. Like, the enemy's here. It's not overseas. The enemy's here right now. Go ahead.
If you could trade, say, 10% of the American military budget for the complete degradation of the Russian military, that actually is not a bad move, considering that the Ukrainian armed forces have already killed or wounded at least 100,000 Russian troops.
If you could trade the entire defense budget that is mostly used to project American military force in foreign bases, if you could trade that entire defense budget to get your rights, to get public schools that don't pervert kids, to get a secure border, to get money that is sound money, to make it to where you are not a debt slave to a system that is whimsical, arbitrary, or indulgent, to get it to where you could have remedy and recompense against people who lie about you and media that lies about you, or politicians that are paid off by Big Pharma that has diplomatic and legal immunity and then they force their jabs on. If you could trade the defense budget to get an America that's free, that's a good portion. That's a good trade-off. It's a good trade-off because all the hillbillies and bubbas that would have their freedom would be able to band together and fight off whatever foreign invasion that would come to our shores. You want to give those people the freedom to live their lives, love their families, build their businesses, and receive the blessings from God's gift for their wages. And then if Russia or China decides to invade, guess what? You got a bunch of corn-fed bubbas that are crack shots with the Remington 700s ready to rock instead of depleted, deprived, depressed, bankrupt, and otherwise withered and scared for their existence of their kids, to say Jesus Christ and Merry Christmas out loud. Like, he ain't even looking home, bro. Like, he ain't even looking at the threats. He's not even looking at the threats, the real threats in this country.
That is half of its original fighting force. There have been almost 8,000 confirmed losses of armored vehicles, including thousands of tanks, thousands of APCs, artillery pieces, hundreds of fixed and rotary wing aircraft, numerous naval vessels. So basically, we've destroyed half of the Russian military by just giving the weapons to Ukraine.
And the idea here is that by giving money to Ukraine, I mean, we haven't even investigated the lives lost. We haven't even investigated the human tally there. I'm just bringing it back to America. If a fraction of our military budget could have that effect over there to destroy those equipments and destroy those machines and all that kind of stuff, could our money have disproportionate positive beneficial effects for Americans here too? Like he's not seeing that. This is a transactional nature by someone who's never served in the military, looking at national security like it's a freaking business proposition. And so he's cutting corners into say, well, this is a good dispensation of resources because this resource had a good return on investment. That is the type of neocon, world-building, nation-building, godless commie, invade everybody thinking that got us into Iraq, got us into Vietnam, got us into Afghanistan, got us everywhere we've been for the last 70 years. And that's the type of conservative notion that says, well, we'd much rather fight them over there than fight them over here. Show them over here. Show me where they are over here, bro. Show me where they are over here and unleash all the bearded bubbas that served in the military. Just get us all and say, hey, if you're a veteran, go kill those foreigners. Roger that. Give me the letters of marque. Grant me the letters of marque and turn me buck wild on all the domestic terrorists. Gone. You give me that immunity, won't cost you a taxpayer dime. Instead, what you're going to do is you're going to take taxpayer money, give it to foreign countries, destabilize it, and then whenever you break everything, you're going to come back to the American people and say, hey, men and women of the United States, things suck over there. We need you to put on this uniform, say that you're gay, we'll take away your pronouns, jab you up, send you overseas for a hot minute, and all the while because we were, for a time, having disproportionate effects with a fraction of our military. The national security of the United States of America is not a business venture. This is business this right here is business calculation. This is a leading voice in American conservative politics. Examines national security as a business venture.
So that is a pretty solid return. I mean, the truth is that on a year-to-year level, the amount of money that we'd be spending in the American military budget in order to counter whatever moves the Russians are making would easily be that amount of money. And here you're talking about a one-time expenditure that has taken out an extraordinary percentage of the Russian military. So, is it in America's interest to fund this? Sure.
I just disagree. I just completely disagree. Completely disagree. Lots of fallacies there. Lots of transactional fallacies. I mean, the American military could be better at killing people with that fraction of money than the stupid Ukraine military that sucked. I mean, Ukraine got themselves invaded. They got whooped, and then they needed our money. What happens whenever we just apply force? I mean, if you really want to destroy Russia, why don't you just destroy Russia? There's no grand strategy. There's a business-like, cutting corners, return on investment, sterile analysis. Doesn't consider the boys. It doesn't consider the women on the ground. Doesn't consider the lives that are being lost over there. Doesn't prioritize the Constitution. The fact that war requires a vote from the Congress. Doesn't require any of that stuff. Doesn't look at America first, building our borders, improving our infrastructure. It doesn't do any of that stuff. Doesn't do any of that stuff. And I mean, if you're going to have a business style calculation for defense, then you necessarily, from a governance perspective, you necessarily have to consider the zero sum that if you give it to defense, what are you not giving it to? What is the alternative for that defense dollar? He doesn't do that. But yet he's leading political conservative voice in the country. That's why it's one of the reasons why I think we are where we are. We get business analysis like this. He's not America first. He's not America first. Hey, thanks for watching. I want to encourage you to become a subscriber at livelocal.store. And here's why. The godless commies control what comes in through our eyes and in through their ears for the key terrain of the mind. The media is the #1 battle space for pushing messages today. I believe Christians need to push the gospel of Jesus Christ. I think we need to build the kingdom of heaven. And I think that we do that by supporting content creators that are consistent, that are biblical, and unwavering about the truth. With your subscription, I'll send you for free the PDF version of the Live Local Field Manual, but you'll also be supporting my efforts to do my daily live stream, which is promotional free, daily Bible studies, which is a verse-by-verse content, unpacking the Word of God, getting people back into the Word, all the other things that I do, the blog posts on Telegram, everything else that I do, you support, and I'm asking for your support, please, at livelocal.store. Be a subscriber there. Every penny that you give allows us to continue to do what we do. We want to do documentaries in the future. We want to just keep growing because we want excellent Christian content that bends all ideas back to the gospel. Please be a subscriber at livelocal.store. God bless.